Hello students, today we will read comprehension. You all know that reading comprehension is one of the most important chapter according to your syllabus because two passages are asked in every examination of 20 marks in final examination and in half yearly examination. So it's very important for all of you to have a command over solving passages. First, understand what is comprehension. Comprehension means understanding, your wisdom, your overall wisdom, your understanding of a subject matter is actually comprehension. So it's very obvious that in comprehension chapter your overall knowledge, your overall understanding will be tested through through passages, through text. So first, see the definition of comprehension. Reading comprehension is the ability to process text, understand its meaning, and to integrate with what the reader already knows. So, as I have told you that reading comprehension actually tests your reading skills and your ability to understand that. How fast you can read a text or how much you can understand it by reading it. That's what it tests you, and it also combine your knowledge with the knowledge given in the passage. So actually it tests your overall skill of reading and how much you can understand. Reading with understanding, that's what it means. Now comes to the few points which are very important to keep in your mind while solving a passage. The first thing that you need to keep it in mind while solving it is you must be habitual of reading. It means to say that if you are habitual of reading, you can solve a passage easily. If you are habitual of reading, how fast you can read and understand. It's not about only reading, but how much you can understand also by reading. That's what it means. So you can do that. You can understand if you are very much habitual. If you have a practice of 2 or 3 hours daily per day of reading, then you can solve a passage easily in comparison to those students who do not have practice of reading. So you must read every day at least for 2 or 3 hours. Read everything, read anything that comes your way, whether it is a book or a newspaper, anything. You should read at least for 2 or 3 hours per day to become habitual, to be quite familiar with reading. Then reading tasks will be very easy for you in the examination. Now let's come to the second point. You should have an understanding of the subject matter. I mean to say that you should have an overall knowledge of everything around you, especially the subjects that you read in your class. You should have a knowledge. You should have a varied knowledge of topics, of all the topics that you have read since your childhood, and all the subjects that you read and everything that's happening around in all over the world. You must have an idea of everything that's happening around you. It will give you an idea about anything, and then understand, because passage is always asked. It can be a historical passage, factual passage, current affair passages. So having a knowledge of everything help us in solving in actually understanding the matter that a passage contains, because a passage generally contain the matter related to various subjects or various things of our life. Now let's come to the third point. For solving a passage, it's very important that your vocabulary must be strong. Vocabulary means word power. Your word power should 100% be strong. Yes, your word power must 100% be strong to solve a passage. If your vocabulary is not strong, then it would not be easy for you to solve a passage. Now the question arises here is that how you can make your vocabulary, your word power strong. And again, reading. The more you will read, the better word power you will have. So actually you should read at least 1 or 2 hours also per day, or you can read the literature, stories, or anything that comes your way, but you should have a practice of reading books. If you will read the books, it will not only boost your word power, but it will also give you habit of understanding. By reading something, you will understand it easily, and further it will boost your word power. Your word power, your vocabulary will be very strong if you will read at least for 2 or 3 hours, and you should take the help of dictionaries while reading. Now I will teach you some methods of solving a passage. Actually in previous classes you have learned many methods of solving the passage, or tricks also by some teachers, and even I also taught you in previous class. But actually in this class I will tell you some more methods, or I can say that some methods that you already know we should learn in this class to solve a passage. So the students, there are some methods to solve a passage. Is actually the main thing and the best thing is that everyone tells you, and I have also told you, and I have always said that first we should understand the whole passage. But sometimes it's not possible, especially keeping the time in mind. So there are some ways by which you can solve a passage easily. First is that skim the text. Skim the text means that you should have a rough idea of the passage. Skimming means read it fast, read it roughly, or get a rough idea of the passage by reading it by just touching the surface. Do not go deep or in detailation of the passage. Just read it roughly, get a rough idea of the passage first. Getting the rough idea means to say that you should get the heading. What is the heading? Subheading, or read the first sentence of each paragraph in the passage. If there are 5 paragraphs in the passage, read the first sentence of each paragraph and then get the heading. What is the heading of the passage? What is the subheading of the passage? Subheading means to say that when there is a heading, there is always a 1 or 2 bottom line that gives you an idea, that gives you the central idea of the passage. So read the passage, get the heading, and while reading also question yourself. While reading, try to question yourself that if you have read 3 or 4 lines in the passage, then automatically few questions would also come in your mind. And if while reading you will question yourself that what should be the name, what should be the place, a question is always what, how, when, where. So always try to question yourself while reading the passage. Now comes to the second method. Say read the questions. Yes, before understanding the passage 100%, you should read the question, because it will make your mind alert on the words or on the sentence. You should have a goal why you are reading. First thing that you need to know is that after all, why you are reading the passage. You are reading the passage to give the answer of the questions. So you must know the question. What is the question? If you know the question, what are the questions, then your mind will be alert to that. So when the words or the answer or the sentence that you will read, and if you have already know the question, then you will get the idea that this should be the answer of that question. I have read the question, it should be the answer of that question. So while reading that, if you have already read the question, then by reading the passage you can get the answers quickly and easily. Now come to the next point. Now read the text and get the central idea of the passage. And I have already told you, question yourself while reading and underline the key words and sentences. It's very important. And then answer the questions, and always keep it in mind that you have to be brief and up to the point. It's very important to be up to the point while giving the answers of the questions. So these are the few ways I have taught you to solve a passage. and how to understand the passage. The main thing is that a quick recap before we end, that comprehension actually tests your overall reading skills, how much you can read and how much you can understand by reading something, by reading a text or a passage in a given time space. That's what it keeps you. The main thing to solve a passage is your vocabulary and your reading skill, how habitual you are of reading and how strong your vocabulary is. And the second thing that is important is read the questions first before reading the passage. So now students, you all have, I hope that you all would have understood. Just with this video I will attach you a passage also. You would solve that at home in copies. You all have to note down this in copy, and you have to solve a passage that I will give you in next video. Solve that at home and do not upload it here. It will be checked when the school will open. Thanks everyone.